Severe Reaction is on the air with your host, Michael Severe, and the most important voice of all, yours. Severe Reaction starts now. Powered by Nebraska Medicine and Equitable Bank. We take banking personally. Only on 1620 The Zone.
For further review, during the fumble, a Purdue player recovered the football. It is first down for Purdue.
Man, oh man. Right away, a turnover by Nebraska in the opening play. Again, a kick to a guy in Snodgrass who's not used to handling the football. Crowd making some noise. Back to throw his card. Steps, throws downfield toward the end zone. The pass is incomplete. Intended for Deion Burks. Great coverage by Nebraska down the field. It'll be a turnover on downs. The Huskers defense does hold after the early fumble.
Welcome to Severe Reaction on 1620 The Zone, 402-951-1620. Michael Severe and Peter, who I don't believe we like each other today. I think we're enemies today, aren't we? Isn't that what
I think we are?
Today we're enemies?
The battle of the 3 and 4s.
The battle of the 3 and 4s. Who can get to 500 with mediocre quarterback play?
I suspect it will be the Saints.
I don't know if you've seen this yet, but they have this this trend that's going on this season with teams that start off as favorites in games and then become underdogs in games, or vice versa. And then there's also this new trend where if your line moves like more than 3 points in the direction that it moves, that team is like 30% against the spread. And of the one that flips as well, like you start off as the favorite and you end up as the dog, or the opposite way, whatever way it moves the biggest, for some reason, again, like 30% against the spread. It's weird. Right now, the gamblers or whoever's moving these lines is not getting any kind of line value at all. Actually, it's just the opposite. It's very strange the way it's working, but that's this year. Yeah, it's very strange this year. So that line started off with the Saints as a 1.5-point favorite. Then it went to the Colts. No, take it back. Colts were a 1.5-point favorite. Then the Saints were a 1.5-point favorite. Then the Colts were a 1-point favorite. I believe right now, currently, the Saints are a 1-point favorite.
4 swaps back and forth.
Yeah,
already.
It's crazy. It's weird. It's very weird. It's like people can't figure out what they're doing.
That is strange.
Yeah, it's kind of like yesterday with Nebraska and Purdue. At one point during the week, Nebraska was locked in as a favorite. They were a 2.5-point favorite. It opened there. It briefly went to 3, set at 3 for a little while. And then yesterday, leading up to the game, there was panic among the fans. The ones that followed the lines, because by the time the game kicked off, Purdue was a 1-point favorite. Now, I tried to explain this on Twitter yesterday. What happens is there are people like myself and others that bet early in the week, like Wednesdays, Thursdays, Fridays, right? In terms of the big money people, a lot of them, believe it or not, get a little bit down earlier in the week. Sometimes to move the line, the sharps do that. But then when you come to Saturday, that's when they throw all their money down. And I think when they looked deeply in that game and they went, hold on a second, wait a minute, let me see. Nebraska's missing 3 out of the 5 starting offensive linemen. They're missing all 3 of their originally projected starting wide receivers. They're missing their projected top 2 running backs. I think I'm going to put money on Purdue. Despite the fact of not thinking about, and this is what I didn't understand what that handicap was. You had a team that, they can run the ball. Maccabee's a very capable running back, and they have 2 other very capable running backs. But this team goes and stops based on throwing the football. And if you look at the weather yesterday in Nebraska, in Lincoln, Nebraska, in Memorial Stadium, no one should look at that and go, they're going to have success in the air. Not with the way that win was. No way. And the way Nebraska plays defense. And so I thought all along that line movement was silly. I felt very confident that Nebraska was going to win the game by a touchdown. At least a touchdown, I should say. But still, you look at it and you say to yourself, how are they going to do that with all of those injuries? How can they possibly? And on top of that, how can they do that by putting the ball on the ground as much as they do? But somehow, they're 5-3. It's weird,
Here
man.
we are.
It's weird. It's weird. Before we get started, sad, if you guys didn't see the news last night, Matthew Perry of Friends passed away. It was one of those I saw when it popped up on Twitter. I thought, this is actually saw it on a TMZ Facebook thing.
You never know what
and
TMZ,
you never know.
If they're just trying to jump the gun.
They've been really good in the past. I mean, they had, Obviously, Michael Jackson they got first, but I thought maybe this is wrong, and then so you do a little bit more, and you see, obviously,
Now there's multiple outlets.
drowned at his home after playing 2 hours of pickleball. I know the speculation was maybe a heart attack. I don't know.
Yeah.
They said no drugs were found at the home, but Matthew Perry, very funny guy over the course of a number of years on Friends. My kids have started to watch Friends with my wife, and so they are fans of him as well. And we got home from the Exarban ball last night. They were like, "Did you see what happened?" Yeah, we saw what happened. It's very sad.
We watched a couple episodes before we went to bed.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Yeah. My wife watches a couple before she goes to bed every night. She's been doing that for years.
They usually run Nick at Night.
Yeah,
so
that's right.
Midnight-ish.
Yeah. It's funny because they're not, in general, I wouldn't call Friends in terms of 2023, the political correctness of the show, it's a little tenuous. There's a lot of making fun of people. You can't do that anymore. But anyway, the show in general is funny for the kids. My wife still likes it. I never really watched it growing up or watched it when I was, I guess I've been in my 20s or 30s. But now I'm actually seeing episodes because I'm like, wait, hold on. Now, who's with who now? Joey's with who? And who's with? I'm not confused.
Changes a lot.
I know. I was very confused. Well, where are we in the series? Who's Ross with right now? But anyway, yeah. So that was Matthew Perry, R.I.P. to him, passing away yesterday at his home at the age, I believe he's 54.
54, 1969.
I'm 54, 1969. Good year. Good year. I said, is he my age? And she goes, yeah, he's 54. Yeah, he is 54. As usual, we will talk about what went right, what went wrong. Last night's game or yesterday's game with Nebraska ended up at nighttime when it ended. We'll also get into the keys of the game that I had going in, see how they end up doing with that. We'll talk with Stephen M. Sipple as we do each and every Sunday morning around 8:30 or so. And, of course, we'll get into the wacky and wild Big Ten West standings and what's to come over the last 4 games of the season. It's going to be crazy. It is wide open. I think if I was going to make a favorite at this point, only based because I've seen tiebreakers, you might have to lean towards Wisconsin. I think you'd lean that direction. But at the same time, Wisconsin has Ohio State on tap at the end of the season. Oh, no. Is that right? Yeah, that was the one I was saying before, right? Ohio State. Yeah. So that's an automatic loss, most likely. Wisconsin lost to Ohio State yesterday. It was Minnesota that has Ohio State left on the schedule. So they're probably, if you're going to say, even though they have a tiebreaker over Nebraska and Iowa, Ohio State on the schedule is probably a loss. So all of a sudden, they're going to have at least 4 losses, or at least they're going to have 3 and probably 4 losses. Iowa with the tiebreaker over Wisconsin helps. But Wisconsin, even though they lost to Iowa, they can beat Minnesota and beat Nebraska, and I think they can lock it up. I think, because I don't think Iowa goes undefeated the rest. I think they could lose in Nebraska last game of the season. It's wide open. I probably would make Wisconsin a short favorite right now heading into the Final Four. I think Nebraska is right there at 2 with the way their schedule is set up. You have a Michigan State team that we know where they are. They're in a bad place. Maryland is, as they have every year, start off balls of fire. They usually have a really soft non-conference schedule. They'll win those games. And all of a sudden, at the end, they fall off the last 4 or 5 games. We saw it yesterday again, not playing very well right now. So, we know what Northwestern is. We saw Northwestern. And Northwestern really kind of pushed them around in the second half. So I think Nebraska having those 2 on the schedule along with Wisconsin and Iowa is kind of an advantage.
And you don't want to overlook MSU and Maryland, but those last 2 games, that's it, make or break.
Yeah. And I mean, anytime you got to go on the road, now it's a morning game. It's 11 o'clock start next week against Michigan State. So I don't think the world about the crowd being wild or anything like that. But, we've seen situations before. Michigan State came in here way back in 2015, riding high. Nebraska coming off of a loss to Purdue. A bad loss to Purdue, and Michigan State came in here and got beat by Nebraska. So you never know. You just gotta take each game. You gotta play a team in Minnesota and Michigan State, which backs up against the wall, obviously, with their season. And hopefully, I hope for their coach's sake, they haven't quit. But you never know.
Yeah,
you get to a point where you're like, well, we don't have anything else to play for. So anyway, we'll get into the wacky West a little bit later as well with Steve Sipple. We'll talk to him about that. What yesterday had was, you ever play bingo growing up? Did your grandparents ever take you to bingo? So I grew up going to bingo all the time. My mama's, her name, we called my grandmother, and she would go to bingo, and she'd have like 7, 8 bingo cards. They went from having the ones that were the slides to having the ones that had the stamp punch.
Yep.
Right, the papers. and she would be playing 7-8 cards at a time. It was amazing.
I don't know if I have the skills to do that.
It was incredible. And the fact that I would have 2 cards and I'd miss them. And she would look over at my card while she's playing her 7-8 cards and play my card.
And she's like, you missed that.
How'd I miss that? Anyway, so yesterday filled up the whole bingo card. I mean, everything you can want in a game or not want in a game, right? You had Nebraska coming out again defensively, playing very well, stingy on defense, made another quarterback look shakier than they looked all season. Hudson Carr hasn't been great, but he didn't look horrible. Yesterday, he looked scared at points. He looked nervous. I thought he looked a little injured. He was banged up a couple of weeks ago, but you don't know. I mean, you never know. He had a week off, the chance to heal up, but he looked bad. Purdue did get close to 100 yards rushing, but because of everything that happens with lost yardage, they ended up under 100 yards. They did move Nebraska from being number 1 in the Big Ten in rush defense. Now they're number 2. Behind Penn State because of the 96 yards that they had, 29 carries, 33 yards. Nebraska's defense played well, only 1 sack, but they were in the backfield all night and 8 tackles for loss. I thought tackles for loss were a big key in the game. So you had that happening from the defense, not unexpected. You expect that. You don't expect 5 fumbles in a game at any level. You don't see 5 fumbles very often. Nebraska hadn't had 5 fumbles in a game going back. I think it's the Iowa State game when they had, 7 turnovers in that game. It was the last time they had 5.
I was at that game.
Yeah, I was too. That was 2009, right?
Yeah, I think it was late 2000s.
Yeah, so I was like the weirdest feeling in the stadium for that game. That was a weird game because, if I'm not mistaken, if I remember correctly, they'd played well coming into that game, lost to Iowa State, then came out against Texas Tech, like with their arms all connected, like we're a team because the media's all against us, and then they lost to Texas Tech too. But anyway, if I remember correctly in my mind, I am 54 years old. Anyway, but you don't expect that. No. And with Nebraska's turnover luck, which has been really good, especially over the last 5 or 6 games after Jeff Sims went away, we'll get to that. The turnover luck's been good. You don't see losing 4 or 5 either. Losing 4 out of 5 is not normal. The only other 2 teams that are worse than Nebraska, or no, not worse than, because Nebraska is number 1 in fumbles, total fumbles at 24, and number 1 in lost fumbles with 19 now. The only 2 that are close to them are Army and FIU. Army is 2-6 on the season. FIU is 4-5, but they're 4-5, but they lost 4 of their last 5. So it shows you that when you lose 19 fumbles, that you normally aren't going to win games, and you see 2 teams that aren't winning their games, but somehow Nebraska loses the turnover battle again, 4-3. They fumble the ball 5 times, and now they're 5-3 in the season. It's crazy. So that's another part of your bingo card, the 5 fumbles, the 4 lost fumbles, and then you get 2 non-offensive touchdowns. I'd say about a quarter of the games in college football, maybe it's less than that, have some sort of non-offensive play that leads to a touchdown, just leads to a touchdown. So fumble recovery down to the 10, interception to the 1-yard line, block, whatever, punt return. Nebraska yesterday had 2. You have the Jeff Sims fumble where he comes in. Now, I'm going to criticize the play call because the play call is the issue on this play. You should never fumble as a quarterback. You should never let the ball go. As in the immortal words of John Heisman, better to die as a young boy than to fumble the football. I understand that, but that's a horrible play call. It's a horrible play call in a couple different ways. Anyway, so you have that happen. But you get Nebraska blocking the field goal, which was a bad snap, low kick. Jerry Jeudy gets up, Newsome in the right place, runs it back, touchdown, high five with Tommy Hill at the end. Reminded me of Tyreek Hill doing the same thing.
That's what I thought of.
That's what it looked like as well. You have Nebraska running the heck out of the ball. They ran it 48 times for just 155 yards. That's not a lot. 48 times, 155 yards. I think it's like 3.5 a carry, 3.6 a carry, something like that. But you're running the ball that much, and on 4th and 1, after an exchange where you had 4th and 1, you got them to jump off sides, but instead of Ben Scott snapping it or the tackle who's across from the guy jumping, so you get the 5 yards and the free first down, nobody does anything. So you take the delay of game, you punt away, they're offsides on the punt, so you get another chance at 4th and 1, and during that period, somebody says, let's call the Jeff Sims from the shotgun quarterback sneak. Nobody thinks that's going to work. Jeff Sims' mother doesn't think that's going to work. She's going, nah, come on. That's not going to work. What are you doing? And it didn't work. And he rolls over a guy and the ball comes out. Good punch out, by the way, the defender. You see his arm come around and hit the ball, and it comes right out as he's turning over.
Those defenders were active trying to punch that ball out all game.
Yeah, active punching the ball and players.
Yes.
It was an incredibly – there was
a lot going on.
I was at the Colorado game. That game was chippy from the beginning, right? But pre-game it was chippy. And chippy throughout the whole game. And then, of course, they pull away. But I thought just watching it – and this is the first game I didn't go to in Memorial Stadium for 7 years because we had the exorbitant ball last night. And I'm watching – and I'm thinking to myself, and by the way, the only reason I was at the exorbitant ball, I was never a Page. I didn't grow up here. I was never a Standard. I was never whatever they are. I went there because it was a tribute to the 24th and Glory book and the 24th and Glory athletes. And, of course, I work for the Jet Foundation. And I was there with Johnny Rogers, and that's why I was there.
That was really, really cool.
It was, and I'm going to get to that a little bit later. I want to mention how it was and the emotion of the whole thing. But that's why I was there. So I hadn't missed the game in forever. But just watching it on TV, all of the cutaways were, I'm pushing you, I'm talking mess to you, you're on the pile, you're giving somebody the business on the bottom of the pile. There were a couple of times where I thought, not just a personal foul, you might get ejected for something like that, or in sportsmanlike conduct, get ejected for that. So you had that going on. Going back to that 4th and 1, which we'll get to a little bit later, that 4th and 1, I would rather, with the way Thomas Fidone can get open in terms of his size, I would rather throw a pop pass in that situation than run the quarterback from the shotgun. Either you're going to line up under the center and quarterback sneak, or you're going to hand off to one of your two running backs, and I think they're going to get the 1 yard, or I'm going to try to get the ball to Thomas Fidone because of his size, and I know in a pop pass, it's hard for the defender to get around it. Those are the things I'm doing. I'm not anywhere on the bingo card. Am I getting to the 4th and 1 and saying, I'm getting the shotgun and we're going to run the ball with Jeff Sims? It's not going to work. And by the way,
and they did it.
It didn't work. So you have all of that going on. The whole bingo card's full. The reason why for the chippiness, obviously it's a Big Ten West game. It's a rivalry. Purdue's actually won, 4 of the last 5. So it had been, I understand Nebraska being fired up for the game and Purdue being fired up for the game and everything else. But what really fired them up was their head coach.
Yeah.
So Ryan Walters has a mix of reasons to dislike Nebraska.
He did not leave anything to the imagination.
He did not. He said
press conferences all week.
91,000 plus. That's see or read. My history with Nebraska started off as a very young age. Grew up as a fan of Colorado, so that's 1. His dad played there. That's 2. He said it's a hated rivalry, right? And so you remove yourself from that as a coach. The first time I got to play at Nebraska again was in 2021 with Illinois. And I remember them running out of the tunnel in Champaign and feeling just coming back to me. It's like I can't stand that color. I don't like the N on the helmet. And so definitely this has been a big week. We've explained to our guys how crazy it gets out there. They're diehard fans, win, lose, or draw. So we're looking forward to a great venue to play a competitive and tough football game. And he passed that along to his team. His team was fired up. They all of a sudden take on his hate for Nebraska as well. And that's probably why you had 2 teams combined for 15 penalties. Purdue had 9 of them. There were 2 unsportsmanlike conducts and a personal foul on each team.
And a targeting that should not have been waved off.
Yeah, I don't know what. So according to somebody I know on the sideline, the referee told the coaches that they thought it was forehead of the helmet. So just above where the cage starts. Hit him, not the top, not the crown, right?
Okay, so that was the distinction.
That's the distinction. That's not true. It was not.
Based on the angles I saw.
His head was down. He was looking down. So there's 3 elements you need to have for that type of targeting. There's a bunch of different things you can have, right? Because you could have a defenseless receiver, quarterback's different if it's in the pocket, a runner's different. So in that situation, you have to have 3 things you're looking for. 1, is it crown of the helmet, right? 2, is it near the head and neck area? And 3, is it on a runner or is it somebody in the pocket? This situation, it's on a runner, right? So the next 2 have to qualify. You have to be crown of the helmet, and it's got to be head and neck area. Both those things were case.
Checked all 3.
In the ear hole, which last time I looked is the head and neck area, unless you've got a very deformed body. And it was crown of the helmet. It's textbook targeting.
And
right?
It's even crazier that the initial call was targeting.
It was the initial call with targeting, and now they review it, which I'm glad they started reviewing that. It's good.
Yeah.
Because you want to eject a guy for a bad call. And then when they came back and said what they said, I was shocked. I was as shocked as I could be. I've not seen that before where it's that textbook and they don't call it. We'll take a break. We'll come back. We'll catch up with Steve Sipple probably in the next segment. Not this one coming up, but the one after that. 402-951-1620. We'll take your calls, talk more about Nebraska being 5-3, your feelings on this team. What do you think about them going forward and the way the game went last night or yesterday? 402-951-1620. We're back here on Severe Reaction on 1620 The Zone.
Advertisement sponsored by Allied Injury Group, not available in all states. This important message from Allied Injury Group reminds you that if you or someone you love was injured in an accident that wasn't your fault, you deserve financial compensation for your medical expenses, lost wages, pain, and suffering. Don't rely on insurance companies to look out for you. If you haven't spoken to an attorney, call our legal experts now. Work accident, truck accident, collision with an uninsured driver, or a slip and fall. Allied Injury Group has helped clients win hundreds of millions of dollars in damages. They're available 24/7 to take your call and fight for you. Remember, if you or someone you love suffered injuries in an accident that wasn't your fault, like being struck by a drunk driver, a collision with an 18-wheeler, were a victim of workplace negligence or more, get the financial compensation you deserve. Call Allied Injury Group for a free consultation now.
Call 800-781-1815. That's 800-781-1815. Again, 800-781-1815.
It's Halloween at Genesis Health Club's. Join with no enrollment fee, no contract, and save 31% per month every month. This offer ends in just 2 days. Genesis Health Clubs has top-of-the-line equipment and the absolute best personal trainers, tennis professionals, and group fitness instructors to help keep you motivated and headed toward your fitness goals. Plus, relax in luxury afterwards with saunas, steam rooms, and fluffy towel service. Whatever your fitness needs, Genesis is here to help every step of the way, and there's nothing scary about that. This Halloween, join Genesis Health Clubs with no enrollment fee, no contract, and save 31% per month every single month. Just 2 days left. But hurry, this offer will end before you have a chance to count your Halloween candy. It ends on Halloween and won't extend. Come to Genesis and get in the best shape of your life so you can handle anything those zombies, werewolves, and vampires throw at you. Plus, get your New Year's resolutions checked off with time to spare. Join Genesis Health Clubs with no enrollment fee, no contract, and save 31% per month every single month. It ends on Halloween and won't extend.
Home is where your health is, where your family gathers together, takes care of each other. And right there with you is Nebraska Medicine. We're proud to take care of Nebraska, to deliver everything your family needs. From immediate care to neurosurgery, it's expertise you can be confident in. With locations throughout the region and telehealth appointments from the comfort of home. Find a provider close to you at nebraskamed.com.
Home is with you wherever that may be.
Every Friday, we bring you discounts to some of your favorite businesses in the Metro. The thing is, once a week just isn't enough. Get ready for OmahaWeekendDeals.com. Every weekend, you can find big deals, 50% off or more to even more of your favorite Metro businesses. Like this weekend's deal to Madness Haunted House on Pioneer Trail in Council Bluffs. Get 2 admissions, a $40 value for just $20. Head to OmahaWeekendDeals.com to get yours. That's OmahaWeekendDeals.com.
Now, back to Severe Reaction, powered by Nebraska Medicine and Equitable Bank. We take banking personally. Here's your host, Michael Severe, on 1620 The Zone.
Gets the snap, looking left, looking middle, rolling right, looking, being flushed, gets hit, goes down. Here's the first sack of the game. Jamori Butler, MJ Sherman. There's your Big Mac sack of the game. 2nd and goal for 1. They'll stay in the gun. 2 eligible each way. M at the back. He still can't get lined up. Fedoni motions. Heinrich gets the snap. Play action, flips it out the flat. Caught, touchdown. Thomas Fedoni. Easy little catch in the corner of the end zone. Nebraska's on the board. 6-0 Big Red.
Welcome back. Severe Reaction on 1620 The Zone. 402-951-1620. Presented by Equitable Bank, where they take banking personally and answer your phone on the first ring, your call on the first ring, not just us. If they answered your phone on the first ring, then that would be cool. Severe Reaction is presented by Nebraska Medicine as well, where they will take care of you from your kids through your senior citizens, through everybody. Nebraska Medicine is awesome, and they've helped us out for a number of years. Again, if you want to call the show, 402-951-1620. We go to the phones. Oh, man, Tyson Fury did not win that fight last night, by the way. He should not have been given the win. That doesn't make any sense. Let's go to the phones. That's where Daniel is this morning. Good morning, Daniel. How you doing?
Hi, Mike. So
I have a different opinion on the targeting calls that you were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
I don't think that was a vicious hit, and
it doesn't have to be vicious.
Well, I know it doesn't have to be vicious, but it used to be, at least that I can remember. But I don't like the punishment that they give for targeting, because sometimes things just happen and it's bang bang.
Sure.
So I mean, throwing a guy out of a game for targeting, I mean, that's kind of a serious accusation. I think that they need to be like, the first one you get a warning, and then the second one you get thrown out, because that's not called on a player that often. So I think you should just give him a warning and then throw him out afterwards if he doesn't.
Daniel, are you a soccer fan by any chance?
No, not terribly.
But you know about yellow cards and red cards, right? I think that should be. I think it should be, if it is intentional and they can say that was, as you called it, vicious, I think you give them a red card and they're out. But if it seems like it's accidental, maybe it's somebody getting down low and you're trying to target them low and you end up hitting them high, and they give you a yellow card, and if you get 2 of those, you're out. I think that's the way it should be. I agree with you. I thought that one, though, was textbook. He hit him in the side of his helmet, the ear hole, with what I thought was the crown of the helmet. If you're going to follow the rules, that should have been a target.
Right, but I mean, at the same time, though, I mean, it looked like that he was going low to just wrap him around the waist and then bring him to the ground, and then Harburg just put his head down too. I mean, there's a factor that you're also responsible, especially you as the quarterback are responsible for those hits as well. I mean, I know you're trying to protect yourself, but when he's going low and you're going low, I mean, kind of both hit, it's kind of your fault too. So.
No, I agree. It's tough. It's a tough call, and that's why they added the review, which I'm glad, because they used to throw a person out sometimes without a review, and it was a bad call. So I agree with you in a way. I thought that was a particular one where if you're going to call it the same across the board, that was one that normally a guy gets thrown out for. That's what I was saying.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, Daniel.
All right.
Appreciate it, man. All right, let's go back to the phones where Drew is this morning. Good morning, Drew. How are you?
Oh, hey, Michael. Hey, I just wanted to comment on our run game. I guess I just don't understand why we're wanting to run the quarterback so much. I felt like yesterday we were most effective running with our running backs, and our running backs actually had a pretty good game. And with our ball handling issues, like, why are we putting Harburg in these positions to have to handle the ball? And I actually think he's particularly not very good at making the correct reads in the option game. So I would just like to see us kind of go back to just more of a traditional running game going forward. And then another quick comment, I wish we could find we need to do something about the punt return game. I just don't think Alec Bolitz is the answer back there. He dropped the one, and then he just looked uncomfortable the rest of the way. And that's just been an issue with us for years now, since DPE. So that's just my comment. So thank you. Thanks,
Dre. I appreciate it. Going back to why they run Harburg so much, I think they have confidence in him compared to the confidence they have in their run backs. I don't believe they necessarily have confidence because, Anthony Grant's had his fumble problems. Emmett Johnson's a freshman, and I don't think they're overly confident in them. Now, I will agree with you in terms of the option. There are many times where I believe he should pitch it. I mean, immediately pitch it. If you're talking about a speed option, right, and you're talking a couple steps and boom, the ball's gone. That way you give your running back a chance to either get the edge, get a cutback, at least have a chance to see what's happening. He holds the ball too long and many times keeps it because, as I always say in the press box, it's an option. He's the only option. Now, you're right. He 19 carries for 22 yards yesterday. Now, some of those, of course, are lost because of sacks, and, he would have had more, obviously, with his gross, but his long carry was 15. You got the fumbles. You're taking punishment. He's not going to last the whole season taking those kind of shots. He had one under the chin. He had another one to his helmet. Luckily, he came back in after getting knocked out and having to go to the tent. But you're right. Emmett Johnson was 13 of 76. The long of 28. I would have loved to seen them give him the ball more. I could have seen a game where he had 20 carries. Anthony Grant was 6 of 18. Didn't look great. He had one long run of 6. But, yeah, you're right. I mean, the running back certainly looked better than Harburg did. But I would like to see more Josh Fleeks. I'd like to see more Emmett Johnson. Those two guys, I would play Emmett Johnson inside, Josh Fleeks outside, and that's what I would run. That would be my running back game right now. It's not what you planned on at the beginning of the season, but it's what I would go with. Go back to the phones where Walter is this morning. Good morning, Walter. How are you?
Hey, good, Mike. Hey, man, 5-3, bro. That's crazy, right?
It's nuts, man.
Hey, but yeah, it's unreal. But kind of get back to your point. My concern is all the hits that Harburg's taking. And if Jeff Sims isn't the answer, because, Jeff comes in and I rooted for him, and all of a sudden, the first play he runs, the running back goes one way, he goes the other way.
Yeah.
The next play, fumble. And I'm like, and my first thought was like, has he even lost his mental edge of the game by just sitting back and watching, Harburg with all the success? And the other thing with the option, when we looked at the old option, that Tom Osborne ran,
sure,
that was run close to the line of scrimmage. And I don't think our offensive line is good enough for him to run it close to the line of scrimmage. It almost looks like a wide, long pitch.
Mm-hmm.
It just looks so slow developing. But the hits you can get off that in a passing game are huge, as long as you hit those. We had some good chances yesterday. But my concern right now is the quarterback. Where's Purdy? And if Sims is kind of locked out of what's happening, what is your choice? And I agree with you. The reason why Harvard's keeping it, he's their best quote-unquote running threat, but I think you need to put a fullback in, and I agree with you. I love Fleeks, and I love the freshman Johnson. Let those kids play, but, man, it looks like we either have four turnovers a game, or we're close to having them, and people, just drop interceptions that Harvard throws. We're just at that line of like, man, we could be 2-4, 2-5.
Yeah.
Or we could keep this thing rolling with a great defense. You got to give this defense just crazy love. But hey, I appreciate you guys' show, Mike. You're amazing. Thanks a lot every morning for what you guys do.
All right, thanks, Walter. We appreciate it. Yeah, you have the running backs, 22 carries for 113 yards. That's Grant, Johnson, and Fleeks at 5.1 yards a carry. I would try to do that more. That's just my theory. And next week, against a team that just saw 50 rushes, Michigan State did, and gave up over 230 yards, I would probably do that same thing next week. Line it up and run the ball with your running backs. But I understand, in order to be able to take advantage of what they can do on the offensive line, you have 3 backup linemen in there. You have a freshman who's having his first start, Evan Jenkins. You have Baraska, who hasn't played out there in a long time. You have a situation where even though you have some snaps, and Lutovsky had a bunch of snaps as both a starter and a reserve, at the same time, your best running plays that you were doing previous to this involved you bringing in those guys extra. So you had a lot of unbalanced line. You had extra offensive linemen in, right? Now you can't do that because all those guys are gone because they're starting. It's tough. As much as you want to criticize the run game and what the call is sometimes, you also got to remember where they are in terms of personnel. They're in a bad spot, and they're literally doing the best they can, and they think that the best they can do with this offensive line is to run Harburg on those types of plays. Although we saw late in the game when they did have a drive where it was all quarterback handoff, they end up scoring a touchdown at Emmett Johnson run. So I would love to see more running backs running the ball than I see the quarterback running the ball, but we'll see what ends up happening in terms of the health of both the offensive line. If they can get Newelly back would be nice, and then we'll see what happens with Harburg as well. We'll take a break. We'll come back. We'll chat with Stephen M. Sipple of Husker Online. Of course, always brought to you by Nebraska Medicine and Equitable Bank, where they take banking personally as well. We're back here on Severe Reaction on 1620 The Zone.
Creighton Sports Update. We are less than 1 week away from the return of Creighton men's basketball. Catch the number 8 Blue Jays in action for the first time this season in an exhibition game versus the Wayne State College Wildcats on Friday, November 3rd at 7 p.m. Purchase your tickets today at gocreighton.com/buy. We will see you at the CHI Health Center Omaha Arena. And that's your Creighton Sports Update.
1620 The Zone proudly supports Creighton Athletics.
'Tis the season to volunteer. Here at the Salvation Army of Omaha, the bells will start ringing at our iconic red kettles come mid-November. That means we need you to volunteer. Ringing the bells at our kettles is a family fun activity that makes a big difference. All kettle donations stay local, and they fund everything from Salvation Army food and housing programs to behavioral health services and more. So sign up today at registertoring.com. And while you're at it, sign up your family, friends, church group, or coworkers too. Go to registertoring.com today.
October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Breast cancer is among the most common types of cancers in the United States and accounts for 1 of 3 new female cancers every year. The good news is there are many things you can do to lower your risk. Find out more at cancer.org.
Score early this NFL season with FanDuel. It's America's #1 sportsbook. Hi, everybody. I'm Gary Sharp along with Nick Hanley. And right now, if you are a new customer, yes, a new customer, listen up. $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 money bet. That's $150 if your team wins.
Yeah, and if you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there is no better time to get in on the action. The app is super easy to use, and there's a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and much more. All you got to do is visit FanDuel.com, use the promo code ZONE. That's FanDuel.com/zone, and kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. 21 plus and present in Iowa. First online real money wager only. $5 pregame money line wager required. First online real money wager only. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire 7 days after receipt. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-BETS-OFF.
Yep, I'm looking at the pages right now.
Thomas's translation company just lost its only 2 Spanish speakers. Without the right replacements, he'll be in problemas.
Yeah, we'll have those ready. Tonight's going to be a late one.
Indeed can help him hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. With Indeed Instant Match, we immediately show you quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed meet your sponsored job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Now, back to Severe Reaction, powered by Nebraska Medicine and Equitable Bank. We take banking personally. Here's your host, Michael Severe, on 1620 The Zone.
Two to the left, in motion now, man. They flip it out of a motion series to Burks. He stood up and stopped short of the first down. Isaac Gifford filled the hole out of the jet motion. They little shovel pass to Burks. He comes around the right side and runs into 2, who buries him for a loss of a yard.
He's a monster.
Grants the back. Heinrich gonna step in back, little Jeep belly action. There's a man wide open. It's Jalen Lloyd. The throw, he makes a catch. 30, 20, 15, 10, 5. Touchdown, Nebraska.
It is absolute grand larceny what's happening.
Welcome back, Severe Reaction on 1620 The Zone. Damon Benning just disgusted at how bad Purdue was playing defense, especially to get the pass early on in that game. Let's chat now with Stephen M. Sipple, HuskerOnline.com, and the On3 Network. Good morning, Sip. How are you doing this morning?
I'm doing good, Michael. How are you doing?
I'm good, man. You know how you know you're old? I mean, there's many ways to know you're old. But little Jalen Lloyd was at CSI with my kids when they were 2 and 3 years old, right? Daria, his mom, was the director of CSI at the time. And I looked at it and I think, my God, these kids are 18 and 17-year-old now, and he's making touchdowns at Memorial Stadium. It's just, I know I'm old, dude, but now I really feel old when I see a kid like that out there making that play.
Wasn't that something?
It's crazy.
So your boys know Jalen?
Yeah, they knew him when they were little. They were 1 year apart. Miles and Jalen were 1 year apart, and so they were in the same classes together because they combined them. But I doubt they remember each other from 2, 3, 4 years ago. But I remember him running around the halls of CSI and not realizing what kind of athlete his mom was until much later in life, going, "Oh my God, she was amazing at Nebraska." So yeah,
it's great for Nebraska. Those young guys are, they're getting their shot.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't really supposed to happen this way necessarily with all the injuries, but they're pretty precocious kids. And Jalen is. I mean, I talked to Jalen this summer, and I was struck by his maturity. Not overly surprised he's able to do this. Man, it's big. Those are big plays for Nebraska because they need big plays.
Yeah, it's a part of it is one. Jalen played at Westside, where he's got a lot of attention on him in terms of how good that program is. Plus, going to Warren Academy, going to all these different things. It's not like the freshmen that we remember from back in the days, right? These kids have been trained to be ready to go when they get to college for a long time.
That's true. That's a good point. They're better trained, but
yeah,
but you can't necessarily replicate facing grown corners in the Big Ten.
Sure.
At the Warren Academy or anywhere else. I mean, that's to be able to do what they do. And it's tough. It's not like they're lighting the world on fire. It's still difficult. And you saw yesterday why. I mean, Purdue, granted, struggled defensively. It struggles defensively generally, but man, they hit. They really hit. I mean, they laid the wood at times in that game. It was tough. The Big Ten. It strikes me every Saturday. Even the teams that we as a populace consider subpar, they still crunch you. And I just don't think there's another conference that hits like that.
I thought the Colorado game was chippy and started before. This one was more chippy, right? I mean, you had a couple personal fouls, a couple unsportsmanlike conducts. Every play, it seemed like there was pushing going on.
Yeah. I don't know if that was just an aberration for Purdue yesterday.
It was Ryan Walters, right? I mean, all week telling him how much he hates Nebraska.
It might have been that. I wonder if that's just going to be the culture at Purdue with Walters. There was John before the game, long before the game. I mean, I don't even think that. I think it was 90 minutes plus before the game.
Yeah.
When Purdue had just had a few players out on the field, just a few had trickled out. They were without shirts, and some Nebraska players came out to walk around, and there was they're shouting each other before the game. So there was stuff going on all day.
Steve Sipple joining us here on Severe Reaction on 1620 The Zone. How in the hell is Nebraska 5-3, leading the nation in both overall fumbles and fumbles lost? How is that possible?
Well, I mean, they lead the nation. They don't lead the nation in fumbles lost.
They did just now. They took the lead. They have 11 now.
Oh, okay. Well,
they just took the lead after yesterday when you lose 4.
How does it happen? It's because the defense rescues them all the time, right? I mean, not all the time, but most of the time. They're leaning hard on that defense. They've been probably a little lucky. But yeah, yesterday was it's interesting too. Nebraska won 31-14.
Yeah.
So you don't want it to take over the conversation. That would be unfair to the players and the coaches. But 5 fumbles is obtuse. I mean, it's not. I don't know what to say about it.
Right.
It was really odd. I mean, right from the start again, too. The opening kickoff.
Yeah.
But they do a lot of good things. I guess that's the point I'd want to make. I don't think it should take over the conversation because they did a lot of good things in all 3 phases, not just defense. The offense had its moments.
Yeah.
And special teams had great moments. So, and they won 31-14, and they've won 5 of 6 and 3 in a row. And but again, the turnover issue is something else, isn't it?
Yeah, it's freaky, and it's not the first time. I mean, Nebraska throughout its history, because of so much option running, has had years before where they led the country in fumbles, but also recovered a ton of them and were good enough on offense to make up for it and defense. I thought one of the things that you're going to notice, and we saw it yesterday, is the more injuries you have, the more you're grabbing guys who are backups who are probably contributing on special teams. So you weaken one level of your team by helping the other level of the team, and then you don't have the ability to go, unbalanced or extra offensive linemen as much because you're using those guys as starters. Eventually, this kind of stuff catches up with you with the injuries, right? Because it just starts to degrade other parts of your team as you're trying to fill in those spots.
I guess. I mean, I don't know. I'm just thinking about the fumbles. Harburg lost 2. Sims lost 1. Snodgrass on a return, the opening kickoff return on a linebacker. It was interesting. Snodgrass, I was struck immediately by how he looked good bolting up the field.
He did, yeah.
He did. He fielded it cleanly and roared up the field, and it looked good. And of course, the ball popped loose. Heinrich's fumbles. You'd have to review. I mean, obviously,
the big one was after he had taken the big shot, he's running option. Instead of giving the ball up like he should have, he takes another shot and the ball gets forced out. That's the one that gets the touchdown afterwards.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, I don't know.
Well, even Bullock being back there on the punt return, he's only back there because of injuries. He looked a little nervous. He had a fumble. They recovered it, but it just looks like if they're healthier, you can fill out your special teams better. You're not able to do that when those guys are now having to start.
Yeah, Kemp. Kemp has a proven track record of not fumbling.
Sure.
I mean, he has a punt returner. I mean, I don't have the stat in front of me, but at Virginia, he was it was he just didn't fumble punts. So and he returned a lot of them or caught a lot of them.
Yeah, he's the all-time leader for the University of Virginia.
Yeah, so I guess conditions have something to do with it, but I'm not going to try to explain it away.
Yeah, it'd be hard to do.
It has to be worked on. It is. Yeah. It can be it can improve, and it has to improve. If they're gonna, if we are going to get really serious about Nebraska winning the division, which I think we can now.
Sure.
That part has to. It's got to go away. I think. I mean, I just don't think you can expect to win a division if you're. Well, you can't do it 5 times a game.
Yeah.
And you got to start winning the turnover battle. Wouldn't that be a novel thing for Nebraska to actually win on a Saturday? Yeah. We've seldom seen that in the last several years.
Well, the cool thing is that they used to not have any chance to win a game if they lost a turnover battle. Now they've won 3 in a row while losing the turnover battle. So obviously the coaching has made a big difference with that. But when you look back, they had 8 fumbles in the spring game. So that's just what this team is. That's who they are.
Well, you might be right. I forgot about that, but we were all kind of aghast.
Yeah.
When we walked out of there and thought aberration. It does seem that's it. I mean, Michael, it's really harsh to say, but I guess that's who they are. I think it's more complicated than that because they are winning.
Yeah, sure.
And I don't know this. As I always say, football is so interesting to me because there's so many angles and offshoots of those angles. They're winning despite the turnovers. It's not just like they're all defense. I thought you saw signs of offense yesterday. And it's a legit defense now. I mean, I know there's people. I mean, there's people I work with in other jobs. There's fans, other media that will say, well, I mean, they're just playing in such a paltry division. I get it, they are.
Yeah.
But my eyes don't lie. This is a unit, a defensive unit that plays well together, and they do have some guys that can really play.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of them, actually.
Yeah.
8 or 9 guys. You'd say, yeah, he's really good, and so that's why I brought that up, Michael. That's a lot of the reason they can win despite the turnovers.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Steve Sipple joining us here on Severe Reaction. So there's a couple things I want to get to. One is, do you realize that all the teams in the West have a negative point differential except for Wisconsin?
Do
you know that?
But it doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, it's crazy though. I mean, you think about it, and Iowa doesn't shock you, right? Because we know what kind of offense they are. But even having Nebraska at, I think they're -5 or -6 at this point. Does that tell you the story that the defenses are really good in the West, or is it the offenses are really poor?
Well, it depends what team you're talking about. I think Iowa and Nebraska have good defenses, really good defenses.
Yeah.
I think there's some bad offenses. I mean, Northwestern. But, I mean, it's interesting, isn't it? No, I mean, I was about to say Northwestern. Of course, Northwestern, what they put on Maryland yesterday.
And they went up and down the field on Maryland, too. Up and down the field. It should have been more.
And, yeah, Brendan Sullivan looked good.
Yep.
And his numbers were he was better than Tagliavoa yesterday.
Sure.
At least by numbers-wise, he was better. And so is that a bad offense? It has been most of the time. Purdue is really average offensively. They really average. And then they were, I mean, the thing you got to note about some of this is when the injuries become a major factor. Purdue and Nebraska were on the same level, and that Purdue, when they had their 2 offensive linemen go down, now Purdue was down 3 offensive linemen.
Yeah.
So that factors into the discussion. Purdue doesn't have a David Bell or a Rondale Moore or Charlie Jones anymore. They don't have a receiver that scares you at all.
Burks is really good. I don't know why Dienhart says that. I'm telling you, Burks is going to play in the league. He's explosive. Card was the problem yesterday. That dude was afraid back there. He looked nervous. Maybe he's injured, but he looked nervous.
Well, he has been banged up.
Yeah.
And he doesn't get much protection, and Nebraska hits you hard. He looked skittish to me.
Yeah, big time.
But again, Nebraska will do that to a an average offense and a quarterback who's skittish. They'll make him more skittish.
No doubt. How would you rank right now with 4 games to go those 4 teams in the West? The Iowa, Minnesota, Wisconsin, Iowa. How would you rank them?
I think it's very even to me. Very even. I still would give Wisconsin maybe a slight edge, even with Jaden Locke.
Yeah,
playing quarterback. Iowa's offense is so miserable that but here's the thing. Here's the interesting thing about it. Maybe Wisconsin gets a slight edge, but I think you would agree. Either Iowa or Nebraska. I don't know which one. I haven't settled on which one. I have to look at it statistically a little more closely. One of those teams has the best unit in the division, their defense.
Right.
It's very possible you're looking at a Nebraska team that has the best unit in the division.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
It's defense. And if you do have that, if you can make that claim, you'll have a good chance to win a division in a given year. And I don't know. I think like Robin was saying, Robin Washington on our Husker Online video last night was saying that I would just force more turnovers. Their defense might have an edge on Nebraska. I think Nebraska has Nebraska again. It's not star laden, but they have so many good players on defense. I think they're better overall athletically than Iowa. I do.
No, I agree.
That's the whole. If you just look at the whole thing, so yeah, they're bunched together. But what I would close in saying this, as I look at it, and you look at the remaining schedules, I think Minnesota has a great chance to win. Maybe the best chance.
Well, they have a problem though. They have a problem.
What's that?
Don't they play Ohio State?
They do, but I think they can win the rest of them.
If you lose to Ohio State, that automatically puts you 1 game behind. Obviously, you still have the tiebreaker over Nebraska and Iowa, but you have Wisconsin there. So they play second last week of the season.
You can lose to Ohio State as long as that's your only loss.
As long as you beat Wisconsin.
You have the 3 wins in the tiebreaker against Iowa, Nebraska, and Wisconsin. You're the champ, and I think they have a shot to do that.
Yeah. To see how they bounce back after if they have a bad loss to Ohio State is always difficult. But yeah, would you make Isaac Gifford the MVP of the defense at this point?
Oof.
Do you know who leads the team in tackles for loss?
Fair.
Do you know who leads the team in tackle for loss?
No, wait a second. I think I mean Gifford or Hutmacher. No, who leads the team in tackles for loss?
Jamari Butler in 7 games. That surprised me. He's sneaky, makes a lot of plays that you don't necessarily always bring him up because maybe he's not as electric.
Butler is interesting to me because if you listen to Rule, he's become one of like the teacher's favorites, and that's Tommy Hill. Tommy Hill is that guy, and Butler's become kind of that guy.
Mm-hmm.
Those guys became. I mean, their stock rose in the last few months dramatically. So yeah, they're interesting to me. And Butler's whole demeanor's changed. I mean, he seems way more confident. He's kind of caught fire. He's a guy who was more of a basketball player for much of high school. And I think it took a little bit longer for him to develop, but now you're seeing it. And they love Tommy Hill too. You're seeing why now. Tommy Hill in the last 2 weeks had 3 interceptions the last 2 weeks and should have had 4. You're seeing that dynamic player that these guys see in practice.
Yeah, no doubt. Last thing. So right now, Minnesota the favorite because of the way things break out. But Nebraska second, right?
I mean, they're all tightly bunched. There's 4 horses coming down the stretch.
Yeah,
I don't really know who's going to get that. Who's going to nose them out at the end. Nebraska's definitely got a shot here.
Yeah.
It would be, I mean, the games that concern me the most are the road games, and even Michigan State. Not because Michigan State scares me, because the team scares me. It'll be so dead. It'll be lifeless.
Yep.
Now it'll be lifeless for the home team, but the road team has to generate energy too.
Bring your own
Nebraska's
energy.
going to have to generate its own energy.
Yeah.
It's going to be a weird game at East Lansing. It's not going to feel like much. It's not going to be like yesterday where it wasn't, there's a lot of empty seats, but it was loud. And so they're going to have to create their own energy. And then winning at Wisconsin is going to be difficult. But I like them against Maryland. I love them against Iowa. I love Nebraska against Iowa. I really do. I think that's Iowa coming in here. It'll be so hot. It'll be electric.
Yep.
It'll be really tough for Iowa.
It'll be emotional. If it's a horse race, you want to be Alydar and not a firm. That's what you want to be.
You want to have a good jockey that can get you positioned down the stretch. That's what you want.
Yeah, Harburg is the jockey. Sip, we appreciate it. Have a good rest of your Sunday.
All right, thank you.
All right, Stephen M. Sipple. We appreciate him every week. We'll take a quick break. We'll come back. We'll get to Mark and your phone calls, 402-951-1620, brought to you by Equitable Bank, where they take banking personally, and Nebraska Medicine as well. Severe reaction continues here on 1620 The Zone.
Get a full breakdown of what went right and what went wrong immediately after every Nebraska game with Big Red Overreaction, presented by Equitable Bank. We take banking personally. And by Coors Light, keeping Nebraska chill. Also brought to you by Chase Senate Contracting, Dingman's Collision Center and Mechanical Repair, and Rotella's Italian Bakery. Immediately after the game, join the show and sound off with the good, the bad, and the ugly. Big Red Overreaction with the Keg and 1620 The Zone.
The smarter way to clean your floors. It's time to make the swap. Swiffer Power Mop.
Introducing the new Swiffer Power Mop, the all-in-one tool that gives you a mop and bucket clean in half the time. The solution's built right in, so no heavy bucket, and the pad has hundreds of scrubbing strips to get deep into grout. Don't mop harder, mop smarter.
Swiffer Power Mop. Swiffer Power Mop.
Brian Radke here from Sunday Night Football on Westwood One. Joined Mike Golick and me from Los Angeles when the Chargers host the Bears. Chicago rookie quarterback Tyson Bagent set to get his second start following a memorable debut in last week's win, while Justin Herbert and the Bolts hope to end their two-game losing streak. Don't miss any of the action. Bears at the Chargers on Sunday Night Football.
Right here on 1620, The Zone.
Snap into action this NFL season with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets, guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That's $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action. The app is so easy to use. There's a wide range of betting options, spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. So visit FanDuel.com/win and kick off the NFL season. That's FanDuel.com/win. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL.
Must be present in a state where lawful to wager, must be 21 plus and present in select states. FanDuel is offering online sports wagering in Kansas under an agreement with Kansas Star Casino LLC. First online real money wager only, $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit FanDuel.com/RG in Colorado, Iowa, Michigan, New Jersey, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Illinois, Tennessee, and Virginia. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP or text NEXT-STEP to 53342 in Arizona, 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut, 1-800-9-WITH-IT in Indiana, 1-800-522-4700 or visit KSGamblingHelp.com in Kansas, 1-877-770-STOP in Louisiana. Visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. Visit 1-800-GAMBLER.net in West Virginia or call 1-800-522-4700 in Wyoming. Hope is here. Visit gamblinghelpma.org or call 800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts or call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY in New York.
Attention sales professionals. NRG Media is looking for an accomplished business-to-business salesperson who wants to take their success and skills to a new level. Is this you? Our account executives work with local businesses to create marketing plans to help them get more customers. On air, digital, on-site, audio, video, it's all part of what you could sell. A sales career with NRG lets you make a real difference. Get more info and apply online at nrgmedia.com. NRG Media is an equal opportunity employer.
Now, back to Severe Reaction, powered by Nebraska Medicine and Equitable Bank. We take banking personally. Here's your host, Michael Severe, on 1620 The Zone.
After review, Nebraska recovered the loose ball. It's first down Nebraska at the 13-yard line. Heinrich gets the snap, runs option near side, and keeps it himself, steps back inside and gets knocked out. Ball comes out, it's ripped away, and I think Purdue got it at the 13-yard line. Heinrich was fighting for extra yardage. It was Thieneman, who I think, did Thieneman pick it up or did he rip it? He ripped it. And Purdue says they've got it. The officials agree. They'll take over the 13-yard line. 37 yards, wind at his back to try to get the Boilermakers on the board. So the defense does it again. The snap is bottled and blocked. Score. Up in the air. The ball's picked up by the Huskers. Scooting down the sidelines. Quentin Newsom to the 30, 20, 15, 10, 5. Touchdown, Nebraska.
Welcome back. Severe Reaction on 1620 The Zone. All College Game Day now is a reason for coaches to get mad about what the people on the show say. That's all it's become now, right? That's all it's become. You make a comment on the show, that team then wins that you made the comment about, and then they come back at you. If you watch Game Day yesterday, Steve Smith Sr. was up there doing picks. He's an NFL guy, right? He doesn't cover college football. He covers the NFL.
And didn't he just get into it with Jerry Jeudy too?
He did. And see, that's what he knows wide receivers. He's a guy that can analyze wide receivers. When he criticizes a wide receiver, you say, okay, it's probably got stuff to be. He knows what he's talking about. He doesn't cover college. He's a college fan, but he doesn't cover college football.
Yeah.
Although he picked, NC State to lose to Clemson, which a lot of people did. It's not a surprise. But he made the comment saying that NC State's waiting for basketball season to start. NC State beats Clemson. Dave Doran says, tell Steve Smith he can kiss my ass, which is pretty awesome.
Apparently anything goes on the CW. That's what I was saying.
Oh,
like,
yeah, anything goes.
Anything
goes on the CW. And they were criticizing the CW, and I was like, CW's over the air. More people can get CW if they choose to than they can get ESPN if they choose to. Because one is over the air with your antenna. Yeah. And on most basic cables, that's not the case for ESPN. You can't get it without an antenna. Anyway, so yeah, Dave Doran.
That was pretty fun.
Congratulations to NC State Wolfpack for coming back and beating Clemson. But tell Steve Smith back in the studio, this ain't a basketball school. He can kiss my ass.
Through week 9, Nebraska with a better record than the Clemson Tigers.
That's pretty cool.
Which is crazy.
And a better record than the Colorado Buffaloes.
Ooh, yes.
We'll take a break. No, take a break. We'll jump real quick and take a phone call from Mark before we take a break and catch up on the time. Hey, Mark, how's it going?
Good morning there. Hey, I listened to your last dialogue there with Sip.
Yeah.
I'll be seeing him Thursday at Holy Ghost.
Oh, awesome.
It's funny, you played just about 3 of the highlights. Actually, that was what was in this whole game was about 3 highlights. The rest is nothing but one constant scrum. And this is where Rule is very good at coaching.
Yes.
He just gets them in there and to compete. This season kind of reminds me of the 2008 season with Pelini's first year.
Mm-hmm.
The difference is the offense was decent that year because he had Joe Gans. And the defense didn't really catch up until the Kansas game. It's just the opposite now. I like what Satterfield has been doing. They keep mixing in a little more option. These freshmen are stepping up. I mean, look at Doss. He missed that. I think it was on the first time Nebraska had the ball when Harburg dumped it into his breadbasket and he dropped it.
Well, hold on, Mark. The defender had his arm. Defender had his arm. Defender had his arm. He had one hand free. The other one was getting held by the defender.
I said he could have pulled that in.
Okay, all right.
But anyway, then he comes down on the long drive and makes a great play on 3rd down.
Oh yeah.
So this is what's good about the whole thing. Everybody, who cares? Just like he says, who cares about the mistakes? As long as you keep competing. And it's funny when you brought up the fumbles of how can they be this good of a record with all these fumbles? Well, he mentioned Crouch told him about the 99 season when they lost 40-something fumbles that year.
Right.
So I know they don't have quite the firepower on offense, but I like the way they're blended in. This is a tough football team right now, and I would not be surprised if these guys run the table. And there's no reason why they cannot run the table because everybody they play really has no offense coming up. So the key is they're going to have to play better on the road. I mean, they're going to have to play good on the road, and we'll see from there. But this has been a fun season. So
it's more fun than I think, Mark, than anybody expected.
Well, I don't know. I thought they would be halfway. I think this is the best talent he's ever walked into, but they've done a heck of a job. And I hope Tony White sticks around at least another year. I think people are going to come looking for him because he's already done a heck of a job on this defense.
No, I completely agree, Mark. I appreciate the phone call.
Have a good day.
You too. Yeah, Tony White's got an interesting situation because he's now considered kind of a master of this 3-3-5 after being an apprentice for a long time. and being a Padawan under some of the best 3-3-5 guys. And now he's kind of a master of it. And there's going to be coaches out there that at bigger schools that have even more money who could say, yes, we want to give this guy the bag and bring him in. On the other hand, there's going to be some programs that are looking for a head coach at maybe the Mountain West level that look at Tony White and say, hey, we want to make him a head coach. And it's hard to pass up on an opportunity sometimes to be a head coach. It'll be hard for Tony White. But Nebraska can afford to pay a lot. They can give him another title. Maybe you call him the associate head coach or something like that, and maybe you make it work that way. But overall, here are the bottom fumble teams, okay, in the country. It is Nebraska, Army, Texas State, who cost me a parlay yesterday, Clemson, Troy, Michigan State, Louisiana Lafayette, Wake Forest, and Marshall. Sometimes you can overcome it, right? Sometimes you can't. Nebraska's obviously overcome it. I mentioned earlier that you had other teams who just, whatever reason, that one fumble, like with Florida International, that's cost them 4 of the last 5 games. They haven't been able to overcome it. But at the same time, at 121st in the country in terms of fumbles with 12 of them, which still is half as many as Nebraska, Wisconsin is sitting there with a pretty good record with 12 fumbles and 8 losses. So, yeah, it is one of those things where if your defense is good enough and you get some fumble luck and you have the chance to be able to make it up with special teams, you can win those games. On the other hand, you cannot be this team. This cannot be your identity. And all the way going back to the spring game, this team has fumbled the ball. It has. And for whatever reason, on this particular week, yesterday, they lost 4 of them, which has not been the normal. They've been look at that, 11 for 24. For the most part, they've had good fumble luck. Yesterday, they didn't, but they still managed to win the game. 3 games in a row winning with a negative turnover margin, which Nebraska couldn't do at all for about 15 years. Go back to the phones before we take our break. Bob is there. What's up, Bob? How you doing?
Hey, guys. Good morning. How are you?
I'm good, man.
Hey, knowing what we know today, how would we like to replay the Minnesota and the Colorado game?
Definitely the Minnesota game for sure.
Yeah, I'm here to tell you, watching Sims come in for those 3 plays and have that happen is, to say it's a huge disappointment is an understatement. I don't see Jeff being on the team next year.
Oh, no.
I just don't. Harburg, he's just got to do a better job of securing the ball. But, it's hard to complain when you win. It's hard to complain when your defense plays like it does. I think Rule is light years ahead of what anybody probably expected.
Yep.
So we have a lot of things to correct and build upon. But right now, at 5 wins and looking forward, the teams we're going to play absolutely winnable. Winning out, I don't even care about winning out. Let's just get to a bowl. Let's get the extra practices. Let's get the extra reps for these young kids, these freshmen, these redshirt freshmen, and some of these other ones. I love it. Those reps are so valuable.
Yep.
The average fan probably doesn't understand what that means for those kids when they come back the next year and the following year. They know what to expect. The jitters are gone. They've been there. They've done it. It's old hat, right?
Yeah.
So I think we're starting to build a foundation. I mean, I've called this show 100 times. This is the first time I've said it. I really see some building blocks getting put in place. Now, the guys putting the building blocks in are doing it a little ugly, but hey, they're getting there. They're getting there.
Yeah, no doubt. I agree completely, Bob. Thanks for the phone call. I don't believe, and you said Jeff Sims won't be on the team. I don't think they have the starting quarterback for next year in the future on the team right now. And I've said this over and over. I think that Harburg is great right now for what it is and what they're being able to do in a very muddied Western division. Remember what happens next year. Next year, it goes from being you're in a division that you can win to a conference that is loaded. USC, UCLA, Oregon, Washington, along with Ohio State, Penn State, Michigan. Those are all teams that are going to be good. In order to be in the top of the half of this conference, this 18-team conference or whatever it's going to be, you're going to have a quarterback that can make plays both with his arm and his feet, even more so with his arm, I think. And I don't think they have that on the roster right now. We'll take a break. We'll come back. We'll continue. We'll go over some of the things that went right, only 1 or 2 things that went wrong, and look back at the keys of the game as well, all brought to you by Nebraska Medicine, where they take care of you from the littlest kid all the way to the oldest adult, and also by Equitable Bank, where they take banking personally and answer your call on the first ring. We'll be back here with more on Severe Reaction.
eBay Motors is here for the ride. 120,000 miles of night drives, daily commutes, and who knows how many.
Are we there yet?
Through countless fixes, elbow grease, and a new radiator, you kept your ride alive. With eBay Motors, you have over 122 million parts to keep it running. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, they'll be the perfect fit every time. Plus, at these prices, well, we're burning rubber, not cash. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
That to-do list you have needs one more thing. Chill. It's an easy thing to do. Just crack open an ice-cold Coors Light and chill. Take the afternoon off and binge watch anything. Go to happy hour and stay for a couple hours. Who's counting anyways? Or hang out with just your dog because you've had enough human interaction this week. Whatever you do it with a Coors Light. Mountain cold refreshment made to chill. Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado. Celebrate responsibly.
Welcome to the After Hours Lounge on 1620 The Zone.
It is the hippest and the hoppest show on 1620 The Zone.
But who is it?
Rap snitches, telling all their business. Sit in the court and be their own star witness. Do you see the perpetrator? Yeah, I'm right here. Brown, get the whole label sent up for years.
Catch After Hours 6 to 8, Monday through Friday, or as the sports schedule allows, on 1620 The Zone.
I'm Omaha Athletic Director Adrian Dow, and I want to introduce you to 3 Omaha schools that are playing a vital role in keeping our community strong. We serve nearly 600 pre-K through 8th grade students, most of whom come from disadvantaged neighborhoods. These students receive a values-based education with the family support they need. I'm a proud member of the CUES Fund Board, which supports the CUES school system. To learn more, go to CUES Schools, that's CUES schools.org.
Hey, Tapper for the FanDuel Sportsbook, and the NFL season is in swing. And guess what? FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, has another deal for you right now. New customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 money line bet. That's right, $150 if your team wins. So pick a heavy favorite if you want to. On the money line, it's $150 in bonus bets with the FanDuel Sportsbook. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there is no better time to get in on the action. It is right now. There's spreads, there's player props, there's anytime touchdown scores, but take a look at those money line bets and you can get your $150 in bonus bets right now. All you got to do is go to FanDuel.com/Happer and kick off the NFL season the right way with FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. 21 and over, present in Iowa. First online real money wager only. $5 pregame money line wager required. First online real money wager only. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued is non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire 7 days after receipt. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-BETS-OFF.
Let it fly. Your elevated sports bar experience. KOZ and Bellevue, Omaha, Council Bluffs. This is 1620 The Zone. Now, back to Severe Reaction. Powered by Nebraska Medicine and Equitable Bank. We take banking personally. Here's your host, Michael Severe, on 1620 The Zone.
Nebraska 14, Purdue nothing. Back to throw card, flips it out in the flat. Tracy blown up in the flat. Oh, what a hit out in the flat for the Huskers. A loss of a minute, 2 yards. Princewell, Uman Mayellen. Ball at the 38, 2nd and 9. Trips tight to the far side. Zone read handoff to Maccabee. Off the left right edge. He has some room to run. He's got a first down. Ball comes out. It's loose. Huskers pick it up at the 46-yard line their own. Maccabee right at the end of the run. Fumbled the football. Nebraska's got it back. Their first turnover forced today by the Black Shirts. Tristan's long is 47. He certainly has the leg strength. Snap down, kick sailing towards the uprights, and the kick is good. He banged it in there. 55 yards out, and the Huskers push the lead to 24-0.
Welcome back to Reaction here on 1620 The Zone. 402-951-1620 is the number, brought to you by Nebraska Medicine and Equitable Bank, where they take banking personally. Andrew is on the phone. Good morning, Andrew. How are you?
Good. How you doing, Mr. Severe?
I am good, Drew. What's happening?
Nothing. I've got a question for you, a couple actually. Will our defensive coordinator be here next year?
That's what we were talking about in the last segment, and then one of the people on the chat got all mad and said that they're not losing him. There's a good chance that Nebraska's got to do something to keep him. I know that.
Would Nebraska be willing to be one of those schools to pay $3 million, $4 million? Who's the highest paid defensive coordinator?
I think $2 million is a legitimate amount because most head coaches at the level he would go to would probably make $2.5 million a year. I think if you paid him $2.5 million, I think that'd be good enough.
What's your gut? Do you think he stays? I mean, he'll be sought after, don't you think?
I think he's going to be highly sought after. I think he'll get some opportunities as a head coach. Somebody on Twitter a little while ago made a good point. If for some reason the Mountain West merges with the Pac-12, the two left in the Pac-12, and all of a sudden your Pac-12 is a merger of those two, maybe he would look to go to a school that's in that Mountain West, like a San Diego State, a place he's been before. For that reason, I don't know. But I think it's going to be hard to keep somebody that's putting a top 10 defense on the field at a school that people didn't expect to be very good. So I think, he's going to get a lot of opportunities.
And then who else runs a 3-3-5 in college?
Well, you got to get somebody who's either coming from Syracuse, out of that San Diego State group. New Mexico had coaches that were there that were running it as well. So I think you can find somebody else. Tony White was just the perfect mix. You know, you found a guy coming from a Power 5 conference in the ACC with Syracuse who had a great feel for it. So that worked out pretty good. I don't think they have to necessarily stick with the 3-3-5 if Tony White left. Whoever you bring in, you let them run what they want to run. That's what I think.
Okay. Because we're going to be heavy on defensive backs.
We are extremely heavy on defensive backs, especially with the class coming in of another 7 or 8 of them. But the key to that whole defense is those 3 guys up front or the 2 guys up front for most of the time. And so Hutmacher and Ty Robinson are the key. You got to find more of those bodies. That's what you got to find. You're going to find corners. You're going to find linebackers. You got to find those 2 big, massive guys up front.
Yeah, thank God for a defense. That's all I can say.
Yeah, it's been great. It's been amazing. They're picking up the offense at every chance they can get.
And you don't see a quarterback on this roster that will start next year?
I don't think so, unless they really fail in the transfer portal. I don't think that Heinrich Harburg is a starting quarterback for the long term for the University of Nebraska in the Big Ten, especially the new Big Ten. And I don't think Jeff Sims is that guy. I don't think Joe Purdy's that guy. I don't think Daniel Kaline, who's coming in as a freshman, is going to be that guy either. I think they got to go find somebody who can win at a really high level. It's not going to be easy to do. You're going to battle other teams for him, but they got to go find somebody from the portal.
Well, thank you for the information. As usual, you give me great information.
All right, enjoy the beginning of Creighton's basketball season.
Well, that's my true love.
I know it is. Take it easy, Drew. Bye-bye, man. Bye. Yeah, it's going to be hard, It's hard to keep coaches when you're good, when they're successful, which is a good thing. The thing you want to have happen every year now going forward is you want people coming for your assistants. Heck, in some levels, you want people coming for your head coach because he's doing a good job. People are going to come for him. That's what you want. You probably even – now, the worst thing about this transfer portal thing is you probably have people coming for your players too. It's another thing, which is different than it used to be. But coming for your coaches, that's a good thing. You want that to happen. Let me go over a couple things that went right yesterday. First of all, and I mentioned this earlier with Sipple on talking about who maybe the MVP of the defense is. Isaac Gifford's got to be right up there. He flew around yesterday. He had maybe his best all-around game. He had 10 tackles, 2 tackles for loss. He had a pass breakup. He was everywhere. You saw the defense, what they did in terms of holding Purdue under 200 total yards at 195, 196. John Bullock looked great as well, another 7 tackles. You've got a defense now, and I was joking with Schaefer and those guys over at 24/7 that you can almost take Gifford, Bullock, and Reimer, and they're one guy. Because when you see them flying around and making tackles, it takes a second because you have the single digits to figure out exactly who it is because they all look so alike. Those 3 guys are all kind of handcuffed in terms of the defense to each other, making plays. And then you got Ty Robinson and Nash Hutmacher in the middle. And then you got guys on the edge that are making – I mentioned this earlier. Jamari Butler is tied for the lead with most tackles for loss, and he did it in 1 fewer game than Nash Hutmacher did. So you've got guys making – Phelan Sanford yesterday. How about that? Flying all over the field, making all kinds of plays. Tommy Hill with 2 interceptions. Quentin Newsome with a great game. And so before he got knocked out, Omar Brown, who is, again, making tackles all over the place. Now, came up, made a tackle, got himself hurt, and got knocked out of the game and couldn't come back in. But, I mean, that's when your secondary, when your pass defense holds a quarterback under 100 yards, you normally would think, okay, you're going up against a service academy, or maybe you're going up against a team like Nebraska that runs the ball a lot. Card was 16 of 32. He completed 16 passes and had 100 yards and 2 interceptions. That's incredible job by the defense. They only got 1 sack, but they were in the back of the field the entire time. And despite the turnovers, Nebraska still had a 62% success rate in terms of their drives. Here's how it works. So Nebraska had 13 drives, but only 11 of them count. 1 ended the first half, 1 ended the game. So 11 total drives, right? They crossed Purdue's 56 out of the 11 times. Again, you take out the one into the half and the one into the game. They had a methodical drive of 15 plays for 85 yards, which might have been the drive of the year, right? Ended in touchdown catch by Thomas Fidone. And then their touchdown rate was, you want a higher touchdown rate. But again, when Nebraska got over the 40-yard line, success rate over the opponent 40-yard line, they got there 4 times. What'd they do? 3 touchdowns and a field goal. That's perfect. You'd rather have 4, but you'll take 3 touchdowns and a field goal getting that done. And then on top of that, in terms of things that went right, Tristan Alvano, a 55-yard bomb of a field goal. Coming off of the field goal he made last week into the win, he certainly got his confidence going. He's 5 of 9 now, 21 of 21 extra points. And you see the value of having a kicker that makes kicks. Purdue is the worst team in the Big Ten and one of the worst in the country at converting field goals. They had situations where they probably could have tried field goals where they passed up on them because they knew they had no confidence in their field goal kicker. Having a good field goal kicker in this division, when you have so many teams that have trouble scoring, is huge. We'll take a break. We'll come back. We'll go over some of the things that went wrong and look back at the keys and take more of your phone calls. 402-951-1620 is the number, of course, here on Severe Reaction on 1620 The Zone.
From sports medicine to spine, bone, and joint problems, Nebraska Medicine is your home for the region's most comprehensive orthopedic care. Our specialists have the unmatched expertise to diagnose and treat common and complex problems, with surgery being a last resort. With multiple locations, our leading care is miles ahead, yet close to home. For orthopedic advances, this is where you begin. Visit nebraskamed.com/ortho.
Home is with you wherever that may be.
Meet Bruce.
Hey there.
He's a busy soccer dad who's trying hard to learn the game.
Go for the end zone.
Whoops. Luckily, other things come easy, like banking with Chase. On a tip from his banker, he set up AutoSave in the Chase mobile app. So what are you saving for, Bruce?
Father-daughter soccer camp.
Smart bankers, convenient tools, one bank with the power of both. Visit chase.com/checking. Chase, make more of what's yours.
AutoSave requires a Chase checking and savings account. Chase mobile app is available for select mobile devices. Message and data rates may apply. JP Morgan Chase Bank and a member FDIC.
42 Degrees, with locations in Omaha, Council Bluffs, and Lincoln, has become a year-round corporate sponsor of the Omaha Veterans Food Pantry. What began as a 5-day food drive 2 years ago has turned into a 365-day commitment by 42 Degrees to support the overwhelming needs of veterans in our community. 42 Degrees customers have contributed thousands of dollars in food and hygiene donations, and 42 Degrees gave the Omaha Veterans Food Pantry a $2,500 check last November. 42 Degrees has food bins ready year-round to receive canned, dry food, and hygiene donations for the Omaha Veterans Food Pantry. During the year, 42 Degrees will have special sales with the proceeds going to the Omaha Veterans Food Pantry. The Omaha Veterans Food Pantry serves veterans who are low income, near homeless, or homeless who are not living in a shelter. 42 Degrees is proud to support the Omaha Veterans Food Pantry, and thanks to their customers in the community for their continued support and patronage.
We're nearing the midpoint of the NFL season. John and Josh here for the FanDuel Sportsbook. Money line. That's how you just bet straight up. Win, lose, no point spreads. And right now, FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, is giving new customers $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 money line bet. That means you can take a pretty big favorite, get an easy win, and pick up $150 in easy bonus bets by betting moneyline on FanDuel.com.
Go to FanDuel.com/1620, John, and take advantage of this great offer and a whole lot more. Again, new customers, $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 money line bet. Just go to FanDuel.com/1620. 21 plus and present in Iowa. First online real money wager only. $5 pregame money line wager required. First online real money wager only. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued is non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire 7 days after receipt. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-BETS-OFF.
Now, back to Severe Reaction, powered by Nebraska Medicine and Equitable Bank. We take banking personally. Here's your host, Michael Severe, on 1620 The Zone.
All right, so 4th and 1. Huskers set to go for it now. Jeff Sims going to go shotgun on this look. Twins to the far side. Lindenmeyer lines up on the far side. Now he's trying to get some people to shuffle with him. Canuck moves back over the right side. Emmett Johnson, the running back. Sims keeps it and goes down, loses a yard. Ball comes out, picked up by Purdue. They are running down the field with it. It is Jenkins. He's to the 30 to 25, 20, 15, 10, 5. That's a touchdown for Purdue. So Jeff Sims gets stopped in the backfield. The ball comes out. The Boilermakers race with it to the far end zone and score 6 points. Card awaits the snap, gets it, takes the handoff, back to throw, throws downfield, taking a deep shot down the field, and the ball's intercepted, picked off by Tommy Hill as an INT. He's at the 15 to the 20, breaks a tackle, skirts to the outside, 25, makes a man miss, slides his way to the 28-yard line. Tommy Hill's second pick in as many weeks stops this drive by Purdue. Huskers will take over at the 28.
Welcome back to Severe Reaction here on 1620 The Zone, the what went wrong portion of the show. We're going to start off with one of those highlights, that 4th and 1 out of the shotgun that Nebraska ran in the fourth quarter. What a crazy scenario. So you got 4th and 1. You're lined up there. You're trying to get them to jump. They jump like you want them to. Ben Scott needs to snap it there. Or the offensive lineman across from the guy who jumped has got to move, react to it. That gives you the automatic 5 yards. It's a first down. Nobody does anything. So now you take a delay of game. You got to punt. On the punt, Purdue is offsides. So it gives you another shot to do it over again. 4th and 1, your opportunity to get a first down, put the game away. And they line up in the shotgun. And I know they've done this earlier in the year. One of the interesting things about Heinrich Harburg, and I know he wasn't in on that play, but one of the interesting things about Harburg is, and I don't know why this is, when they do run a quarterback sneak, instead of him getting really low and using his legs and his strength, he always gets really high. And so he ends up taking away his own leverage, and he kind of ends up getting pushed back. It's happened a bunch of times. I don't know if we've seen Jeff Sims run a quarterback sneak or not. Maybe he can get lower and do that. In order to run that, you have to get lower. Either that or you got to pick a side. You know, see where the weakness is in the defense, whatever side of the center, and you're going to go that direction. You can always delay a little bit, too, to see which wood opens up and go that way. That's what made Tom Brady so incredible with his quarterback sneaks. But take that away. At no point in all of the options, in my opinion, you're lining up at shotgun and you're running the ball with your quarterback. It just doesn't make any sense. I'm going to line up at shotgun. I got this giant tight end. I'm going to give him a chance to convert the first down. I've got 2 running backs who ran okay. I mentioned this earlier. Of the running backs, of the 3 running backs, Fleeks, Anthony Grant, and Emmett Johnson, they had 22 carries for 113 yards. It's 5.1 yards a carry. I'm lining up, and I'm giving it to one of my running backs. Maybe I'm lining up in the shotgun, lining up under center in the I and giving it a quick to my fullback, Bonner or Liebentritt. Maybe I'm doing that. But at no point am I lining up in the shotgun and running the ball with Jeff Sims. It doesn't make any sense. He's not even that kind of runner. It doesn't make any sense. Like, it's almost like they didn't know who was in the game when they did that. That is frustrating to watch. Now, as I said earlier, it's hard to judge this offense based off of what they've lost. Not having the 3 offensive linemen you expected to have, even though I think the 3 that are in there right now are I think when Newelli comes back, and if it's still Prohaska and Jenkins can be in there as well, I think they could be pretty good. And losing your top running backs and your white, we all know what they've lost, right? So that makes it difficult to really analyze the offense because their hands are kind of tied behind their backs. But in that situation, 4th and 1, and you've got the ball and you're trying to put it away, at no point, not in 2023, do you line up in the shotgun. You just don't do that anymore. And if you line up in the shotgun, you certainly don't have your quarterback, who is not a good inside runner, in Jeff Sims, try to do it. It makes 0 sense. I don't understand it. As I said earlier, I don't even know if Jeff Sims had confidence in that play. but that's what they chose to run. Didn't make any sense to me. It's one of the things I have that went wrong. Not a lot of things that went wrong, but one thing that went wrong. Let's go to the phones. That's where Jeff is this morning. Good morning, Jeff.
Hey, Michael. Good morning. How are you?
I'm good, man. You're not Jeff Sims, are you?
I am not Jeff Sims, no. but I'm cold enough that I could drop the steering wheel here. Hey, quick question. This doesn't make sense to me at the end of the game when Tommy Hill intercepts the pass.
Yeah.
And I think he could have ran it in for a touchdown. Why have him go to the knee if you're going to keep running plays instead of just going to victory formation and down it?
I'll tell you this real quick, Jeff. All of a sudden, in all of football, coaches have forgot how to handle end-of-game situations. I don't know why, but it's everywhere. I don't know why.
And I agree. And, the only thing that can happen there is somebody getting hurt, and one of the Purdue guys did. It's crazy. I mean, let him go for the touchdown if you're not going to go into victory formation.
Yeah, and the only time you really got to worry about whether you score or not if it then makes it to a situation where they can get 2 quick scores to beat you.
Exactly.
It wouldn't have been in that situation, right? It'd have been enough to where if he scores again, now it's out of reach. It doesn't matter what happens on the next 2 drives or next drive. So, yeah, he should have went in and scored.
I moved back from California. Love your show, man. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. I appreciate that, man. Yeah, at the end of I did watch one yesterday. I'm trying to think which game I was watching where the team handled it perfectly. It was Boston College, which, again, I had the 14. Anyway, Boston College running the ball and ran it all the way down until they got the first down at the 3. And then that was enough for them to be able to kneel on it and in the game. It's perfect. Ran it to the point where they could get to where they knew there was, and they were only up 7. That's a different situation, right? And then the other team, and you kind of had a timeout. So they had to make them expend their timeout, expend the clock, get the first down, game over. That handled it perfectly. But I don't get when you have the ability to kneel, do you hand off? And it all depends on if the other team wants to call the timeouts they have remaining. And I don't think at that point, 31-14, that Purdue is. So, yeah, I'm all about the victory formation. It's about the best thing in all of football. A couple other things went wrong. And this isn't horrible, but Nebraska wants to win the middle 8 of each game, right? I've been talking about middle 8 for a long time. Coach Rule comes in here talking about middle 8. That's the last 4 of the first half, first 4 of the second half. You want to win those. Last drive of the first half for Nebraska, of course, that was them letting the clock run out. They had got to run, then a penalty, and they decided, let the clock run out. But go to the one before that because that was within the 4 minutes of the end of the first half. And Nebraska on that drive, all they had was they went, let me see, the whole third quarter, second drive of, let's go with the first drive of the third quarter was 3 plays for 1 yard. Second drive, they had a penalty and a fumble. Whole third quarter, he ran 9 plays, 18 yards, 1 fumble, 3 penalties for 19 yards. What you have to do in that situation is especially when you're leading and you're playing well, is got to put a team away. That third quarter, they get help. Obviously had the blocked field goal that ended up being a touchdown, but offensively, they did nothing to help put that away. They didn't do anything at the end of the first half or the beginning of the second half to put that away. And that's something that I know every week Coach Rule wants to look at. And he wants to be able to make sure that they're getting points there and not giving their opponents points. And again, you didn't give your opponents points, so that's good. But at the same time, you have to be able to, make that work in that last 4. Especially now in this situation, Purdue got the ball to start the second half. The optimal situation is you score at the end of the first half, you get the ball in the second half, you score again, you're stealing a possession. That's what Belichick did forever with New England. He's the one that kind of started talking about it. And the last thing, obviously, is the fumbles. 5 fumbles, 4 lost. Nebraska now leads the country in fumbles with 24 and loss with 11. But as we've said all show long, 5-3. 5-3, all that matters, right? You got to do that. One of the things I thought was really interesting in this game was, and obviously Nebraska didn't get the shutout, but had every opportunity to get the shutout. The play that Card made, the 4th and 1 throw to touchdown, Nebraska had that thing covered perfectly. Even in a situation where he broke out of the pocket, it took an incredible throw and a great catch to be able to get those points on the board. Now, the other points, of course, are from the fumble and the defense scoring. But if you look at what they did to Hudson, they did to Carr all day long. They harassed him. They made him nervous. They hit him. They only got the one sack, but they hit him. They were in the backfield. They made that quarterback look like nowhere near what he's been all season, which is great. Heinrich ended up 6 of 11 for 122 yards and 2 TDs with no picks. That's solid enough for Nebraska right now to win games with their running game, with their defense, and that's what you expect him to do over the last 4. If he can do that over the last 4, they're going to win 3 out of the last 4. Think about Nebraska finishing the season 8-4. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. I know coaches hate that. You want to be 1-0 every week. But legitimately, when you work this out in your head, 8-4 isn't crazy anymore. You're going to a Michigan State team. We've talked about the trouble they had. They're still fighting, but took it on the chin yesterday. 50 carries against them yesterday. 40 of them by one running back. The kid from Illinois. Northwest? Illinois, right? That's cool.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
Should be Illinois.
But you got a situation where you're taking on at Michigan State, Maryland team that's got all kinds of problems, and Wisconsin and Iowa. If you could manage to win 3 out of that 4, ended up 8-4, I don't know if they would give the Coach of the Year award to Rule, but it wouldn't be a bad idea.
He'd be up there.
He certainly would be one you'd have to think about in a situation like that. But Michigan State, Minnesota, it was the running back from Minnesota.
Oh,
Newbin. Yeah. Put up
Mr. 40 rushes.
Jordan Newbin, 204 yards for 40 carries for 204 yards. Minnesota winning 27-12. And Michigan State fought hard. They were in that game for most of the game until Minnesota pulled away. But you got that, you go there, you come home from Maryland, you go to Wisconsin, you come home for Iowa, 3 or 4, legitimate, a chance to win the Big Ten West. And if nothing else, at 8-4, all the talk we've had about bowl games, and again, this is down the road, Pinstripe Bowl was a talk, maybe going to Tennessee for the Music City Bowl, maybe going back out to the West Coast, San Francisco. You, at 8-4, finishing maybe second place in the Big Ten West, you could certainly go to a better bowl than that. I'm not saying it's New Year's Day, but they know Nebraska fans are ready to travel. It's been since 2016. Nebraska fans are ready to get the hell out of Nebraska in the cold weather and go someplace nice. If you give them the opportunity to go someplace nice, they will buy those tickets.
Every bowl game that's going to have, if Nebraska becomes bowl eligible, they will be calling. They'll want them because they know that those fans are going to travel.
You would think so. Let me see. Big Ten bowls. Let me see exactly. So you got Citrus Bowl, Rose Bowl, ReliaQuest Bowl, Orange Bowl, Pinstripe Bowl. There's the Music City Bowl we were talking about. You know what wouldn't be bad? Is Duke's Mayo Bowl's in Charlotte. Nobody's saying Charlotte is, really warm, but it's still the South.
Yeah.
So maybe you could have a chance there. You don't want to go to the Pinstripe Bowl. You know it's going to be cold in New York.
Yeah.
You never know about Tennessee. That is, and it's December 30th, which is not bad. Music City Bowl.
It would be a full circle moment. Last bowl game they played.
Yeah. Here it is. ReliaQuest Bowl, which is Big Ten versus SEC. That's a New Year's Day Bowl, Raymond James Stadium, Tampa. That's legitimate.
Mm-hmm.
Nebraska could go to that bowl game.
Mm-hmm.
They could certainly go to that bowl game. If the Big Ten gets one of their teams into the college football playoff, that means the second team would be Ohio State or Minnesota or Michigan, would end up in the Fiesta Bowl. Or end up whatever bowl is the next New Year's Day Bowl for New Year's 6. And then after that, you could be the Cheez-It Bowl, which would be the third place team, depending on if you get one team into the college playoff. You get 2 teams into the college ball playoff. That pushes everything back. And you could be the 5th place team in the Big Ten, could be in the Citrus Bowl. And the 6th place team, which maybe could be Nebraska, could be in the ReliaQuest Bowl in Tampa, Florida. This is at 8-4. This is a lot of looking ahead, which I know coaches hate, but all of it's possibility.
It's kind of
all
fun
possible.
We're in the position now where we can look ahead to that.
It is all absolutely. Devin says Rule does not want to go back to Charlotte. I completely understand. It's a different audience.
Not.
Hopefully, it would be a different audience in that situation. Hopefully, if he was going back to there, I know he doesn't want to go back there. Where are we break wise?
Looks like we got about 3 more.
Okay, we'll take a break. We'll come back. We'll look at some of the keys of the game, how they did for that, and then more on the Big Ten West and where Nebraska stands with that. Severe Reaction presented by Nebraska Medicine and Equitable Bank, where they take banking personally, right here on 1620 The Zone.
If your credit card bills have gotten out of hand, call Consolidated Credit now. If you're making the minimum payments, but your balance is just not going down, call Consolidated Credit now. If the interest rates on your credit cards are so high, it will take years to get out of debt. Call Consolidated Credit now. They've helped over 5 million people. They can consolidate your debts into one lower payment, reduce your interest rates, and get you out of debt fast. If you're struggling with credit card debt, call Consolidated Credit now.
Call now, 800-552-6750. That's 800-552-6750. 800-552-6750.
Consolidated Credit Counseling Services Incorporated, 5701 West Sunrise Boulevard, Fort Lauderdale, Florida, 33313. Not a loan company licensed by the New York Department of Financial Services and by the Vermont Department of Financial Regulation. Maryland DM 19, Oregon DM 80031. Licensed by Virginia State Corporation. Commission licensed under DC 32. Establishment of a plan may adversely affect the individual's credit rating or credit scores. Non-payment of debt may be creditors to increase financial charges or collections activity, including litigation.
Reading is an important key to student success. I'm Jenny Benson, president of the Nebraska State Education Association. Take your young reader to the library, get some great books, sit down and read together, and help your more advanced readers find books they'll enjoy on their own. Also know that most public libraries let you borrow ebooks that can be downloaded to your smartphones, tablets, or laptops.
Sponsored by the Nebraska State Education Association, aired by the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
Scott Graham here from Westwood One. Sunday night primetime comes from Southern California this week when Justin Herbert and the LA Chargers take on the Bears. Chicago's coming off an impressive win over the Raiders with the first NFL start of undrafted rookie Tyson Bagent under center. Ryan Radke and Mike Golick have the call on air and on the free live stream, sponsored by AutoZone on Sunday Night Football.
Right here on 1620, The Zone.
Snap into action this NFL season with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets, guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That's $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action. The app is so easy to use. There's a wide range of betting options, spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. So visit FanDuel.com/win and kick off the NFL season. That's FanDuel.com/win. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL.
Must be present in a state where lawful to wager must be 21 plus and present in select states. FanDuel is offering online sports wagering in Kansas under an agreement with Kansas Star Casino LLC. First online real money wager only, $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit fanduel.com/RG in Colorado, Iowa, Michigan, New Jersey, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Illinois, Tennessee, and Virginia. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP or text NEXT-STEP to 53342 in Arizona, 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut, 1-800-9-WITH-IT in Indiana, 1-800-522-4700 or visit ksgamblinghelp.com in Kansas, 1-877-770-STOP in Louisiana. Visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. Visit 1-800-GAMBLER.net in West Virginia or call 1-800-522-4700 in Wyoming. Hope is here. Visit gamblinghelpma.org or call 800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts or call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY in New York.
Now, back to Severe Reaction, powered by Nebraska Medicine and Equitable Bank. We take banking personally. Here's your host, Michael Severe, on 1620 The Zone.
From the 28-yard line, Lee's had some shots taken today. Pretty nice bat. Option left. Heinrich keeps it. Stood up. Ball comes out. It's loose at the 25-yard line. Big pile up at the 24-yard line. Dylan Thiemann made the hit to rip it away from. I think Nebraska might have got it back.
Unbelievable if they did with the 3 white shirts.
No sign, but no. Usually you see the defensive guys jumping around with excitement. Oh, now they are. So they may have got this one again. After a turnover, the black shirts trying to put up the stop sign again. Back to throw his card. Stepping up in the pocket. Rolling right. Looking to make a throw. Fires toward the end zone. The pass is caught. Touchdown. Pulled in by Jaden Dixon-Vale for the score.
Welcome back. Severe Reaction here on 1620 The Zone, 402-951-1620. Joe says he disagrees with the end of the game. He said you had game one. They let some of the young running backs. Oh, he wanted to give them a few carries as a reward, and I get that. Tyler Lubin got in the game. I just think you're risking injuries, more injuries. You already have a ton of injuries. You're also risking another fumble, another turnover. So I just think it's time to get out of there. At that point, you're up 31-14. Kneel on it, walk away. Everything's great. GPA says, can someone teach Harburg to slide? As a former baseball player, I know he can slide. I just don't think he doesn't want to. I don't think he wants to slide. I think he likes the physical contact. I think he considers himself a tough guy, and he would rather, run into that contact than slide. So that's fine if you want to be that way. It's just, obviously it's dangerous, especially if you don't see the guy coming. The biggest hit he took was one where he was trying to look downfield for somebody else, opposed to dumping it off to the running back. He had Emmett Johnson off to his right. He decided, I'm looking downfield, and he ran right into a defender and got popped. So that's going to happen sometimes too. Sometimes you're trying to make a play and you get hit, and that was a heck of a shot. But look, he got right up. Most quarterbacks in college football don't get up from that hit. They're just not. A couple stats before we get to the key of the game. Nebraska's now 4th in tackles for loss in the Big Ten with 53 on the season. They're 3rd in sacks with 29, and they're number 1 in long rush plays. They have 46 long rush plays. That's 10 or more in the Big Ten. Next closest is 38. That's Rutgers and Wisconsin. Nebraska with 8 more long rush plays of 10 or more than anybody else in the Big Ten. It's pretty impressive. Keys of the game, I had all my keys of the game, Peter, were all like old school rap references. And the people I was doing it for my podcast are way too young to get any of the rap references. So
they were just totally lost.
My number 1 key to the game was love me some Big Papa plays. Okay, love me some Big Papa plays. Talking about how teams against Purdue have had a lot of long plays. Purdue was the worst team in the Big Ten if you're basing it off of only having 7 games played in terms of giving up big plays. Nebraska got a couple big. They only got 6 total in the game. I thought they would have more. I thought they would have at least 7 long run plays, depending on the weather, of course, and maybe up to 10 or 12 of the overall. They didn't get that many, but they did get 6 big plays. My second one was special ed, I got it made teams. Special ed, I got it made teams. Special ed was a rapper, had a great song called I Got It Made Teams. I thought Nebraska would have a chance to have an advantage on special teams because looking at a Purdue team that was last in net punting, didn't get a lot of touchbacks, and couldn't make field goals. And that kind of played out, right? If you look at the exchange that they had on some of the field position, Nebraska won that. They had the block field goal. So overall, special teams, certainly Nebraska won that against a team in Purdue who had probably a worse special teams than Nebraska did. And then the third one was third base, gas face on third down. Third base, a band that had a song called Gas Face. Anyway, on third down,
some good ones.
I thought they were pretty good, but they weren't as excited about them as me because they didn't know what I was talking about. And then the other one was third down. Purdue had allowed the most third down conversions of any team in the Big Ten. They'd given up 45 out of 99. So I thought whoever got to, say, 40% would win on third down. And it kind of played that. Nebraska was 6 of 14. So got over 40%, 5 of 16 for Purdue. Nebraska did win the third down battle, so it kind of works out. I thought 40% was kind of that middle number. If you can get to 40%, I thought you had a pretty good chance to win the game because of the way the two teams played their third downs. The only team with fewer third down attempts, by the way, than Nebraska or conversions was Iowa coming into the game. Iowa only had 29 third down conversions in 8 games. Nebraska had 32 in 7 going into the game. But yeah, win the race to 40%. Nebraska took care of that. So all the keys for the most part, Nebraska nailed. Winning the special teams battle, winning the third down battle, and also making the big plays. Not as many as I thought they would, but still got a bunch of them. Another quick break. When we come back, we'll look around the Big Ten, give you the tiebreakers, and tell you what's going on in terms of where Nebraska is with 4 games remaining. Plus, I want to tell you about something that happened last night that was really special for a lot of people here in Omaha. All that when we come back here. Brought to you by Nebraska Medicine and Equitable Bank, where they take banking personally as well. It's Severe Reaction here on 1620 Zone.
It's Halloween at Genesis Health Clubs. Join with no enrollment fee, no contract, and save 31% per month every month. This offer ends in just 2 days. Genesis Health Clubs has top-of-the-line equipment and the absolute best personal trainers, tennis professionals, and group fitness instructors to help keep you motivated and headed towards your fitness goals. Plus, relax in luxury afterwards with saunas, steam rooms, and fluffy towel service. Whatever your fitness needs, Genesis is here to help every step of the way, and there's nothing scary about that. This Halloween, join Genesis Genesis Health Clubs with no enrollment fee, no contract, and save 31% per month every single month.
Just 2 days left.
But hurry, this offer will end before you have a chance to count your Halloween candy. It ends on Halloween and won't extend. Come to Genesis and get in the best shape of your life so you can handle anything those zombies, werewolves, and vampires throw at you. Plus, get your New Year's resolutions checked off with time to spare. Join Genesis Health Clubs with no enrollment fee, no contract, and save 31% per month every single month. It ends on Halloween and won't extend.
Every Friday, we bring you discounts to some of your favorite businesses in the Metro. The thing is, once a week just isn't enough. Get ready for OmahaWeekendDeals.com. Every weekend, you can find big deals, 50% off or more to even more of your favorite Metro businesses. Like this weekend's deal to Madness Haunted House on Pioneer Trail in Council Bluffs. Get 2 admissions, a $40 value for just $20. Head to OmahaWeekendDeals.com to get yours. That's OmahaWeekendDeals.com.
Listen to 1620 The Zone, weekdays for the Big Red Practice Report, presented by Tickets for Less. Visit ticketsforless.com and use promo code The Zone to score incredible savings for your favorite team. It's the Big Red Practice Report, brought to you by Tickets for Less.
We're nearing the midpoint of the NFL season. John and Josh here for the FanDuel Sportsbook. Money line. That's how you just bet straight up. Win, lose, no point spreads. And right now, FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, is giving new customers $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 money line bet. That means you can take a pretty big favorite, get an easy win, and pick up $150 in easy bonus bets by betting money line on FanDuel.com.
Go to FanDuel.com/1620, John, and take advantage of this great offer and a whole lot more. Again, new customers, $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 money line bet. Just go to FanDuel.com/1620. 21 plus and present in Iowa. First online real money wager only. $5 pregame money line wager required. First online real money wager only. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued is non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire 7 days after receipt. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-BETS-OFF.
Now, back to Severe Reaction, powered by Nebraska Medicine and Equitable Bank. We take banking personally. Here's your host, Michael Severe, on 1620 The Zone.
And the offense for Purdue going for 2. Card gets a snap, gets hit as he throws, pass is caught at the goal line for 2 points. So they get the 2-point conversion, as it was one of the wide receivers, Sowinski, who made the catch for the 2 points. So it's a 24-14 game. They motion Sheffield, Card in the gun. Maccabee's off to his left. Zone read, and Maccabee gets the handout, trying to get to the edge, dives. I don't know if he got it or not. Trying to reach the ball out. Rodney Van Poppel over there, and he's short. They're going to mark it right at midfield. Huskers have stopped. Second time in the game. They've stopped them on 4th down and will take over on downs. Motion to the near side. They hand it off to Emmett Johnson. He's at the 25, 20, 15, 10, 5. Touchdown, Nebraska. Emmett Johnson's first career Husker rushing touchdown. It's now 30-14.
Welcome back. Severe Reaction here on 1620 The Zone, 402-951-1620. Last night at the Exorbitant Ball, there was they always pay tribute or salute people who make differences in the community, whether it's on the business side or if it's a philanthropist or maybe someone who does something in terms of the social aspects of the city. Last night, they did a special one for recognition about sports, and it was about 24th and Glory guys. And as you know, Dirk Chatelain from the Omaha World Herald wrote 24th in Glory and went out and interviewed all of these guys back when many of them obviously were still alive, and wrote this incredible book about not just the history of the athletes coming out of North Omaha and South Omaha with Marlon Briscoe, but also about the climate that Omaha was in from, the 60s into the 70s. It was an incredible book that was written. It was wonderful. And then yesterday you had the recognition of those guys, and Johnny and Roger Sayers are still alive. The other guys, of course, Josh Gibson have passed away. Bob Gibson, excuse me. They talked about his brother Josh as well, but has passed away. But it was incredible because you got a chance to have these family members go up there and accept, or really close friends of these guys who made such a difference in the sports world. And they talked about that one day, in like 1968, where you had Bob Gibson on the mound in the World Series, and you had Gale Sayers having a great game rushing in the NFL, and you had Marlon Briscoe as being the first starting African-American quarterback in the NFL. And you have a guy like Bob Boozer, and as talented as he was, and just so much great talent coming out of that area. If you haven't had a chance to pick up the book, 24th and Glory, I recommend doing it, finding it, reading it. If you want to know more about Omaha and the history of Omaha and what it meant to have those young men playing together in Kuntz Park and growing up and playing in the street and then ended up moving on to being some of the best athletes in the country. It's really amazing. The book's amazing. And the event last night was really cool too. It was emotional. And, Dirk wrote the script for it based off the stuff out of his book. And it was really incredible that, the message that was given out about what Omaha was at that time and what these men couldn't buy homes in certain areas in town because they were redlined and restricted to one area of North Omaha. And, what it was like for them growing up here was really incredible. So thank you to the Ark Suburban Ball for recognizing those guys.
One of the coolest things I've had the pleasure to witness. It was really, really neat.
It was really awesome. And he got a little emotional too watching
yeah.
those guys up there. Johnny just sent me a note, asked me to send some of the pictures of him up on the stage because he wants to remember it as well. Before we take a quick break, we'll go to Tom. Tom, one last caller. What's up, Tom?
Yeah, just had a couple of questions that I had, and maybe you've addressed them and maybe you haven't. But first is at the end of the first half, which to me, we basically decided just to run out the half as opposed to being a little bit more aggressive and trying to get down for a field goal.
Right.
And then the second issue was the fumbling issue. If you have any ideas as to how the club might go about addressing those.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Tom. I said this earlier. They fumbled in the spring game, so they've been fumbling. I think it's who they are at this point. At the half, I think it's because they got the penalty. They got the 8-yard gain, then they got a penalty, and then they were like, you know what? Let's just get out of here with a 14-0 lead and come back in the second half. So I think that's what it was. I thought originally they were going to try something, but I think after they got the penalty, that's when they decided not to. We got to take one last break. We'll come back, wrap the show up here on Severe Reaction.
Cashback is not available on gas in New Jersey and Wisconsin.
Susan, I'm sorry I'm late. Traffic is terrible.
It sure is. But on top of that, gas prices have been skyrocketing. I can't believe how expensive gas has gotten recently.
Prices at the pump are up, but I never pay full price for gas anymore. I just use the free Upside app that pays you cash back for every gallon of gas you buy.
Wait a minute. Are you saying you actually get paid cash when you buy gas with the Upside app?
Yes, I get real cash back every time I buy gas.
And does that actually add up to anything?
I've made around $200.
Wow, that's serious extra cash. I'm downloading the free Upside app now.
Download the free Upside app to earn real cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code GOLD for an extra 25 cents per gallon cash back on your first fill-up. You can cash out anytime right to your bank account, to PayPal, or any gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code GOLD for a 25 cents per gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code GOLD for 25 cents per gallon cash back on your first fill-up.
Hey, Tapper for the FanDuel Sportsbook, and the NFL season is in swing. And guess what? FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, has another deal for you right now. New customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 money line bet. That's right, $150 if your team wins. So pick a heavy favorite if you want to. On the money line, it's $150 in bonus bets with the FanDuel Sportsbook. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there is no better time to get in on the action. It is right now. There's spreads, there's player props, there's anytime touchdown scores. But take a look at those money line bets, and you can get your $150 in bonus bets right now. All you got to do is go to FanDuel.com/Happer and kick off the NFL season the right way with FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. 21 and over, present in Iowa. First online real money wager only. $5 pregame money line wager required. First online real money wager only. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued is non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire 7 days after receipt. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-BETS-OFF.
'Tis the season to volunteer. Here at the Salvation Army of Omaha, the bells will start ringing at our iconic red kettles come mid-November. That means we need you to volunteer. Ringing the bells at our kettles is a family fun activity that makes a big difference. All kettle donations stay local, and they fund everything from Salvation Army food and housing programs to behavioral health services and more. So sign up today at registertoring.com. And while you're at it, sign up your family, friends, church group, or coworkers too. Go to registertoring.com today.
Now, back to Severe Reaction, powered by Nebraska Medicine and Equitable Bank. We take banking personally. Here's your host, Michael Severe, on 1620 The Zone.
Fourth down and 13 from the 22-yard line of Purdue. Back to throw his card. Being rushed, steps, throws, intercepted. Tommy Hill with a pick at the 30. Tommy goes down to a knee at the 29-yard line. His second INT of the game, the third of the season for number 31. The pick from Tommy Hill until Nebraska now can knee this thing out. and is going to make it 5 of their last 6 games. This resilient bunch of Huskers fighting their way into the month of November with a chance in the division in the Big Ten West.
All right, thanks everybody for joining us for the show. Severe Reaction, of course, back next week following the Michigan State game. I want to go back to Tom's call from earlier. They had the targeting call after the 8-yard gain by Harburg. I think if they get that's confirmed, and then they have the ball, I think at the 46, then they're going to go. The next play was a 1-yard run to Emmett Johnson. And then after that, then it's 3rd and 1. And I don't know. I think if they'd have gotten the target call confirmed and they'd have moved to the 46, I think they would have tried to score. But at that point, I think they're just trying to be conservative and not make another mistake going into half, I think, is the best way to look at that. It's going to be a fun final 4 weeks. It's going to be a blast. Stick with us here on Severe Reaction every Sunday morning after the game. Talk more about what happened and see who wins the battle of the final 4 games in the Big Ten West. We'll see you next week. Thanks to Peter. And we'll see you next week.
Let it fly. Your elevated sports bar experience. KOZ and Bellevue, Omaha, Council Bluffs. This is 1620.